how to install the aerial pixel racing stripe and battery numbering set for the Mini 3 Pro. That coming up right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Ryan. On this channel we do a lot of tips and tricks and reviews, mostly drone and photography related. If that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing. It's greatly appreciated. As mentioned in the intro, today we're going to be talking about how to install this battery numbering decal set and racing stripe set for the Mini 3 Pro. So first I'd like to talk a little bit about how our decal set comes. You will get this set of decals as well as some instructions. The instructions will link you to this video you're watching right now. A little bit about the decals themselves. So the decals are composed of three different parts. You have a backing paper here on the back, you have a transfer tape here on the top, and in between those two items is the decal itself. Before starting our installation though, we need to take one really important step. We need to clean the drone and the batteries with isopropyl rubbing alcohol in a lint-free cloth. So here I have a bottle of isopropyl rubbing alcohol and I have a cloth. I am going to just pour a little bit of my isopropyl rubbing alcohol on that. We don't want it to be too saturated. And then we're just going to wipe down the top of the drone. We want to make sure we're not getting too much rubbing alcohol around the button or any other exposed parts. And then lastly, we need to go ahead and apply some rubbing alcohol to all the batteries. And that is basically it. You can do this a second time, especially if you've been handling it with greasy hands. The idea is to get all of the manufacturing oils off and any other oils that might have come in contact with the drone. So we do need to let that dry. While that's drying, what we need to do is go ahead and cut apart the decal. In order to cut apart the decal, I suggest either a very sharp pair of scissors or a hobby knife. And basically we're going to cut out each of the 4 battery decals and then just cut out the top racing stripe decal. Just make sure you don't cut the vinyl itself, so stay away from any of the colored areas. As long as you're cutting through the white area, you should be fine. Before tackling the top decal, I do suggest you try out one of the battery numbering decals first on one of your batteries. That way you can get used to the procedure, how you remove the backing paper, how you install, before you tackle the very noticeable top decal. So if we're going to install one of the battery decals first, I do suggest going ahead and removing the batteries that you're going to install on. I am going to install battery decal number 1 first. And the easiest way to remove the backing paper is actually have it face down on your tabletop and just get an edge started, a corner started, and peel this away at a 180-degree angle. You can see that I'm just peeling it right back on itself. That makes sure that the decal stays on that transfer tape. That's what we want. Once this backing paper is removed, you can throw that away. All right, now it's time to go ahead and install our number on there. So now you can see the decal is on the transfer tape. And we're just going to line it up exactly where we want it. Now before you press down, make sure it is exactly where you want it. It's straight. You can go ahead and barely reposition as long as you haven't pushed down yet on these decals. You can reposition, turn, make sure it's nice and level in the spot that you want it. All right, so I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and first, just using our finger, just go ahead and rub that down in place. Make sure that there are no bubbles, and then use a little bit firmer pressure. So now one of the other things you're going to need is you're either going to need a squeegee or you can also use a credit card. I do obviously vinyl for a living, so I have plenty of these squeegees laying around. So I will squeegee this on, and we will just at first just use light pressure. Do a couple passes with light pressure, and then we're going to use very heavy pressure. Now this, the harder you press, basically the more the adhesive gets sunk into all those little micro pores on the plastic, so that's going to help make it stick even better. All right, so now once we're sure we got it, this is a very important step to remove this transfer tape. You need to do the same thing we did when removing the backing paper. You need to remove it at a 180-degree angle. You can see here that I'm essentially folding it back on itself. and slowly rolling it back. And the thinner areas, like these real thin pinstripes around the perimeter, will be the most troublesome, if you will. They will lift up easier, so just take your time getting those off. But honestly, as long as you take it slow and make sure that it's laying down, you should be okay. All right, so that is done. Just repeat the same steps for the rest of your battery decals. All right, so now it's time to go ahead and tackle the top decal, the main racing stripe decal. Same way we did before, we're going to place the decal on the tabletop face down. We're going to start one corner, and we're going to slowly roll this back at that 180-degree angle. All right, one nice smooth motion. There we go, and you can throw that backing paper away. And again, now you can see that that decal is stuck to that backing paper. And just like before, we're going to line it up exactly where we want it. It's easiest to start down here at the bottom where the DJI logo is. Just make sure that that is perfectly centered around that. And then before you put it down, look at the very top and make sure it's not rotated around. It should fit directly between those top sensors. It looks like I should barely reposition mine. Oops. And again, remember, you can reposition it as long as you haven't pressed down on it yet. All right, I think that looks better. So now again, just using your finger, go ahead and slowly, starting in the middle and working your way to the edges, just rub it gently at first, and then start and go back again a little bit harder, and then work your way the other side, starting at the middle, working your way all the way to the edge. Now these little bit of concave areas are going to be the toughest part. Make sure you press those down in there nice and good. Once you're done with firm pressure, just using your finger, now it's time to switch to your squeegee, your credit card. All right, and then again, starting in the middle, light pressure at first. Be careful your button there. And again, really pay attention to this front concaved area. As long as you stay on this transfer tape with your squeegee or your credit card, you're not going to scratch your drone, so just be careful, take it nice and slow. And then finally, nice firm pressure to get that finally down. And again, pay extra attention to these thinner pinstripes. Those are the areas you really want to make sure they're stuck down. Just because they're thinner, there's less adhesive, obviously less surface area to stick to your drone. So now when removing the transfer tape, I suggest that you start from the back, just because this front area can be a little more troublesome. So usually the back will start easier. And again, starting with that 180-degree removal method, we're going to pull it straight back on itself. And again, take it nice and slow. And then take it really slow when you get here at the front. Make sure it's down real good. And there it is. So now I suggest before really using this, just let this sit for about 24 hours. When it's out in the sun, it's actually going to, that adhesive will sink into those pores even more. So the first day you're out flying in the sun, that's actually going to help kind of bake that in, if you will. So other than that, to remove it, you will just simply, pick at one of these corners until you get started and remove it off. It should not leave any residue behind. If by chance it does, you can just, again, use isopropyl rubbing alcohol and it would get any residue off of there. So now one of the things I'm always asked on these, especially on the mini drones, is how much weight does this add to the drone? So before adding the decals, it was 247.95 grams. After installing both the top decal and the battery decal, we are looking at a total of 248.31 grams. So we just added 0.35-ish of a gram. So not a whole lot to worry about. You're still underneath that 250 gram weight limit. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have not picked up a set of these decals yet, there will be a link down in the description below where you can pick it up on Etsy, our eBay store, or our website as well. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I'd be glad to help you out. You can also reach out to us on our website. We have a Facebook Connect button where you can connect through us with Messenger there. So that's it. Film safe, fly safe, and bye for now.